Welcome back. Not back to me, but back to a deeper layer of awareness your soul has known for a very long time. If you're hearing this, trust me, it's not a coincidence. Some messages only arrive when the heart is ready, and some doors only open when the noise within you begins to quiet down. In a world that's moving faster and faster, you may have grown used to ignoring your intuition. But today, I invite you to step into a different kind of space, a space where every instinct is heard, where every pause holds more truth than words can explain. Here, you don't need to be strong, you don't need to have it all figured out. Here, you only need to be present just as you are and let the unseen tides carry you forward. I'm only the storyteller, but this story, it doesn't belong to me. It's a reflection of something deeply personal in you, a memory that has no name, a whisper you once ignored, a warning the universe sent in silence. And now, that silence is beginning to speak, because a meeting has just ended. A meeting you weren't invited to, but somehow, you were the center of every look, every whisper, every plan. They talked about you. They tried to decide for you, but here's the thing, the truth is starting to find its own way to be seen. Dear Aries, there are moments in life we never see coming, yet somehow, those are exactly the moments when the universe chooses to lift the veil and show you the truth it has kept hidden. Until now, tonight, I want to tell you a story unlike any you've ever heard, because a new frequency has just been activated, and you, yes, you, are at the very center of it all. A meeting has just ended, not a meeting with notes or documents. This was a closed circle, a space where your name wasn't just spoken aloud. It was felt, moved through the room like electricity, spoken in glances, in intent, in silence charged with hidden manipulation. Inside that space, where plans were whispered and shadows made decisions, your name kept rising, so much so that even the ones who spoke it began to sense something strange in the air, a ripple, a presence, an energy they couldn't explain. No one raised their voice, but all eyes were on you. They know you're getting closer to a threshold that, once crossed, means they can no longer bend you, no longer contain you. They wanted to build walls around your light, place invisible fences around your career, your finances, your relationships, even your soul's autonomy. Somehow they believed if they moved fast enough, if they stayed smart enough, they could interrupt something sacred, something you're just beginning to reach for. But what they didn't know is that the universe has been watching all along. Every whisper in that room, every subtle nod, every averted gaze, none of it escaped the vision of higher forces. And standing at the heart of that energetic battlefield, Archangel Michael appeared, not to flex divine power, but to witness, to mark every current circling you, and to declare, this is the moment of intervention. Have you felt it lately? That thickness in the air around you. It's not just a mood. It's not your imagination. It's the echo of frequencies shifting behind the veil, because when your name is spoken with dark intent, the entire field of the universe responds. Not to punish, but to protect. Protect what exactly? Your sacred right to be whole, to shine unapologetically, to walk the path your soul chose long before you entered this world. This story isn't meant to scare you, it's here to awaken you. They didn't choose your name at random. They felt something even you might still be discovering. You are not a dot in the sky. You are a signal, the beginning of a wave, the spark that can ignite a sky long asleep. And what they cannot control is that light, not the kind that needs approval, not the kind that feeds on recognition, but the kind born of quiet resilience, of standing back up after every fall, of holding on to kindness. Even when the world forgets how to be gentle, truth is, you're not being tested to break. You're being prepared to grow. Every plan they crafted is a mirror reflecting their fear. But you remain the still point in the storm, and in that stillness, you are being readied for something greater. A role not just to survive, but to lead. And then, just as the silence begins to crack, as the first tear falls in that secret room, a new current opened, subtle, strange, and powerfully divine. And right there, in that very place, sometimes what causes an entire plan to fall apart isn't an accusation or an outside force crashing in. It's a sob, a single trembling breath that rises from someone's chest, someone they all thought would stay silent forever. In that room, where names were spoken like pieces on a chessboard, a heart finally cracked. At first, everything followed their plan. Glances exchanged, voices lowered, whispers passed with the cold logic of people who'd long forgotten how it feels to be moved by anything. But then, The one thing they hadn't accounted for happened. Someone in that room, someone they trusted to stay aligned with the scheme, collapsed. Not under pressure, not from an outsider, but because something sacred inside them was still alive. When your name was mentioned again, this time with scorn and cold indifference, that person looked down at their own hands, and suddenly, they began to shake. The tears came without warning, no words, just the raw, quiet sound of truth, breaking through the silence. No one knew what to say, no one could understand why that person of all people would break. But in that moment, the entire room shifted. Even the ones who had been scheming fell silent because deep inside they all felt it too, not weakness but truth. A truth that didn't speak in language but in a deep ancestral knowing. We've gone too far. That person, they weren't just crying for you, they were crying for themselves. For all the times they stayed quiet, for all the moments they told themselves they were too small to change anything, but like the last drop that makes the glass overflow. Sometimes one honest tear can wake an entire room from its sleep. From that moment on, nothing was the same. A crack had formed, not in the plan but in the conscience of those who tried to twist fate. And what they feared most wasn't your power to destroy them, but the sound of something sacred finally speaking out. Because once the sacred begins to speak, no scheme can drown it out. That tear, it was the beginning, and the one who cried could no longer stay silent. From the moment that tear hit the table, they became a carrier of the truth. It started small, an awkward glance, a text sent to the wrong person, a sentence that seemed like nothing, but shook someone to their core, and slowly they will have no choice but to speak. And when that truth is spoken, it won't just be a confession, it will be the end of an entire era of manipulation. You are not alone. You have never been alone. The universe has seen everything, even the things you haven't yet understood. Every honest tear has the power to open a doorway to healing. And in this world where everything moves too fast, the one thing that keeps us connected to the sacred is radical, unapologetic truth. And as that truth begins to flicker through every subtle sign, every unshakable feeling in your chest, another gate quietly begins to open, not through whispers, but through light streaming softly through every fracture. Sometimes, truth doesn't come with a loud bang. It doesn't knock down your door. It doesn't arrive under spotlights. It comes quietly, like the first cold breeze of the season, brushing the back of your neck. A chill runs through you, and you just know something is shifting. From the moment that first tear fell in that secret meeting, a new current of energy began to ripple outward. You won't notice it with your mind at first. You'll feel it in a comment that stops you mid-task, in a glance that no longer feels the same, in someone who used to stay silent now suddenly reaching out, in someone who used to be close pulling away, and in all of it, your intuition will whisper, something is being revealed. Truth doesn't rush. It doesn't force. It waits for the right moment to unfold. When you're strong enough to hear it and grounded enough not to lose yourself in it, the questions that used to echo in your silence will begin to find their answers. Why did that person walk away so suddenly? Why did that opportunity never land? Why did something that once felt so close suddenly slip out of reach? Each of these will unravel gently but deeply, and you'll realize none of it was failure. It was sacred delay protecting you from doors that weren't ready for your light. In a world that rushes, that labels every pause as a loss, you'll begin to understand a powerful truth. Not everything that arrives late is a mistake. Some things are meant to bloom in their own season. Some doors, if opened too soon, would lead you astray. And some people, if they show up at the wrong time, will close your heart instead of opening it. Right now, as the energy around you shifts, begin to see with your inner eyes. What makes your heart stir, even for a brief second? What makes you tremble, yet somehow feel more peaceful after? That is truth, knocking softly on your door, not demanding but persistent, not preaching but guiding, like an old friend returning, wearing a new face. And slowly you'll stop seeing delay as injustice. You'll see it as space for you to hear yourself again. Beneath all the noise, there's an invisible gate opening before you. Not everyone can see it. Not everyone will understand. But you'll feel it, because your soul has been waiting for this for a long, long time. This gate won't lead you to a place. It'll lead you back to yourself, to the part of you that can't be manipulated, to the part where lies have no power, to the part where you no longer need anyone else to believe in you because you finally believe in you. And once you step through that gate, something beautiful begins. The ones who try to bury the truth will start making mistakes. The puzzle pieces you thought didn't matter will suddenly connect. A story you thought had ended will open a new chapter, but this time you're not just a reader, you're the writer, the breath of truth. Once it touches reality, never disappears, it lingers in the eyes of others, in the seemingly random, in the dreams you don't dare speak aloud, and in the quiet of night or on a day that seems just like any other. It will rise again. Not every battle happens under the light. Some wars unfold in silence with you at the center, even when you have no idea it's begun. But amidst all the unseen currents moving around you right now, there is one sacred truth that never wavers. You are being protected. Protected not by things the eyes can see, but by what your soul has always known, especially in your quietest moments. Archangel Michael was there, in the very space where you thought no one stood with you. He stood when your spirit felt alone, in the fog of vague words and hidden actions. He did not come to clear every obstacle. He came to steady your steps before you even saw the cliff ahead, and with him, an entire army of light, higher beings, silent watchers, recording every thought spoken with the intent to harm you. Not a single word against you has gone unnoticed. Not one hidden scheme has escaped the reach of light. Because at the soul level, truth is always clearer than any mask humans try to wear. And in that realm, you are not judged by your mistakes. You are seen in your wholeness, in your stumbles, and in the quiet strength it took to rise again. Strangely enough, when they try to build walls around you, that's when the universe begins clearing a path beneath your feet. When they say, "You're not ready," God whispers to your heart, "My child, you are already enough." They think that by removing your name from a list, by keeping you out of conversations, by spreading quiet doubt, they've controlled your pace. But they forgot you never walk by invitation, you walk by divine calling. Every time they try to drag you down, you look up, and every time you look up, you remember the sky has never abandoned you. There is a hand, greater than all human plans, still guiding things behind the scenes, not to punish but to realign, to remove what doesn't belong to you so you can receive what is deeper, truer, and more enduring. When they pushed you into corners of silence, they didn't realize. You carry a light they'll never understand. They don't know. The prayers you whispered, on nights when no one saw you fall to your knees, God heard them, every word. And when a prayer is spoken with enough honesty, with enough surrender, it becomes a quiet weapon, one that no darkness can withstand. You weren't born to run, you were born to stand, even if no one stands with you. And that is why no attack against you has succeeded. They haven't broken you. They've only shaped you into someone they can no longer control. Sometimes you don't have to fight to win. You just have to remain true, kind, clear, and faithful, and everything else will fall away by itself. Not because you retaliated, but because the light within you gave darkness nowhere to cling to. This is a battle you don't need weapons for, only truth, and that you already have. Truth lives in you, born from the steady silence you've carried. Through years no one ever fully saw, you are not just protected, you are being raised, not to stand above others, but to rise into who you were always meant to be. And it's in the moment you understand that you don't need revenge, you don't even need defense, you only need to keep walking in light. That's when the next door begins to open, and the first whispers of truth begin to rise into a voice that can no longer be ignored. There are people who fear the dark, but there are also those who fear the light. They fear the light because it reveals what they've worked so hard to hide. They fear the light because it reminds them that control is just an illusion and truth is always waiting just beneath the surface, needing only one ray to pierce straight into the heart. And with you, what they fear is not your voice, it's what lives behind it. It's the vibration in your heart. When you choose to speak the right thing at the right moment, it's the power you carry, not through manipulation, but through presence. They've seen it in your eyes, in the way you walk into a room without noise, yet make the loudest ones go still. In your silence, that makes everyone else quietly question where they stand. No one taught you how to inspire. You never studied to be heard. You just lived honestly. You cried when it hurt. You rose when no one else did. And that unsettles them. They don't understand how you still carry the strength to love after all the wounds. They don't understand why you don't carry hatred when you had every reason to. They don't understand how things begin to bloom after you've touched them. An idea you suggest can become the solution for an entire group. A word of encouragement you offer can revive someone on the edge of quitting. A single, clear decision from you can shift the direction of a whole system, and that makes them afraid, not because you hold power, but because you carry influence. They've tried to dim you through whispers behind closed doors. They've questioned your motives, cut off your access, excluded you from decisions that mattered. They thought if you weren't invited to the table, you wouldn't have a voice, but they forgot. Light doesn't need a seat. Light only needs space. And when the time comes, you don't walk through doors, you walk in with heart. They fear what you're becoming because they feel it coming. They sense the shift in energy around you. They know if you rise into that next role, if you step into that space, there will be no holding you back. Because once you emerge, fully in your truth, no one can force you to shrink into the version of you they once controlled. But here's the grace: you don't need to prove anything, because true light doesn't need to shout to be seen. It just keeps shining, whether it's in a small room or in the middle of the world's stage. And you are in that exact moment now. You no longer need to run from darkness. You don't need to beg for the light. You are the light, not the kind that burns to show off, but the kind that warms quietly. The kind of light that calms a storm, melts frozen ground, and makes even those who try to extinguish you turn away, because truth that clear is too bright to bear. As you step into this new role in a relationship, a project, or a purpose, remember, you're not here to take anyone's place. You're here to lead. And if your presence shakes them, that's theirs to handle, not yours to carry. And when you finally walk, with the knowing that you are an unextinguishable source of light, that's when you'll hear it. The first crack from the other side of silence, a faint but undeniable whisper, signaling that truth can no longer stay hidden. There comes a moment in life when you no longer need to run forward, nor look back. You just need to stand still and listen. But listen to what? To yourself. Not with your ears, but with something deeper, a quiet sensing, from the part of you that noise cannot touch. Your intuition now isn't just a passing whisper in your chest, it's a compass. It's a sacred echo, it's truth from a place no one else can manipulate. You've been through enough to know when someone enters your space and leaves a cold silence in your heart. It's not because you're too sensitive, it's because their energy is not in harmony with yours, and you must trust that. You don't need evidence, you just need to feel. In moments like these, moments of deep shift, what matters most isn't speed, it's the purity of the energy you're holding. Your environment is sacred. It holds your soul. Don't let it fill up with echoes of what you've outgrown. Slow down, clear the space. Not to impress anyone, but to welcome a new current from the universe. No rituals needed, just a tidier desk, a brighter corner, a heart that's less attached. You don't have to erase everything, just create space. Because light cannot enter if every corner is already occupied by what no longer serves you. And when someone enters your world and your heart stirs, not with fleeting romance, but with peace and clarity, honor that. That is not coincidence, that is resonance. A sign that you've done the inner work to attract what is finally aligned. And if someone triggers your fear, makes you question your worth, shrinks your presence, step back. You don't need to cause a scene. You don't need to prove them wrong. Just draw the line through stillness and clarity. Right now, your small daily actions hold more power than you think. That email you've been putting off, that call you've been scared to make, that idea you wrote down but never said out loud. If you begin, it will flow. This current doesn't need a storm. It just needs you to stop fighting yourself. No more waiting for the perfect moment. No more needing a green light from others. Just remember this: you weren't born to watch change. You were born to cause it. And if today you're tired, that's okay. The universe never asked you to be strong all the time. It just asked you to be honest. If you need to cry, cry. If you need to rest, rest. But come back, not to prove anything, but so you don't abandon what's trying to grow inside you. There's a seed within you waiting for your trust. And that seed will never rush you, it will wait. Just like God waits. Just like the light waits. And just like you have always been waiting for yourself to return. And as you begin to realize that the small things you do each day are actually the clearest declaration of the future you wish to live somewhere else, the very hands that try to bury the truth start to tremble. Every time you shift your energetic frequency, the universe automatically adjusts who is still meant to stay. No noise, no grand goodbyes, just longer silences, conversations that feel emptier, and the presence of someone who once brought you warmth now quietly makes your heart feel cold. It's not that you've changed too fast, it's that you're evolving and they've chosen to remain. in a vibration you can no longer return to. The truth is, some people come into your life only to teach you how to let go. They're not bad, they're just not meant to be forever. And now, as your light begins to rise stronger, those who were never sincere will find it too bright to bear. They can't stand your clarity. They can no longer control your reactions like before, so they'll begin to drift away. Not because you did something wrong, but because they can no longer pretend to fit where they never truly belonged. Do not keep relationships that require you to shrink just to keep the peace. True peace doesn't come from your silence, from being fully yourself and still being loved for it. You deserve that. There may be people you thought were gone from your life forever, and suddenly they reappear, not to repeat the past, but to offer a chance for healing. Maybe it's a late-night message, an unexpected encounter, a glance across a crowd that lingers too long, or maybe it's someone entirely new but with an energy that feels like you've known them for lifetimes. Don't rush to call it fate, but don't reject it just because your heart is afraid to break again. Love doesn't come to erase old pain. It comes to remind you that you still can feel even after your heart has shattered. And every time you choose to trust someone new, you send a signal to the universe that you are ready, not out of lack, but out of fullness. Keep your heart awake, but keep it soft. Let your wounds teach you not how to build walls, but how to build bridges. Bridges that only the sincere will have the patience to cross. You'll recognize the real ones, not by their promises, but by their quiet consistencies. They won't need to say much. They'll listen more. They'll ask what you ate, not out of politeness, but because they want you well. They won't gift big things, but they'll remember the tiny details you thought no one noticed, and they won't just show up. When you shine bright, they'll stay. When all is quiet, as for those who leave, let them go with gratitude, because if they hadn't left, you wouldn't have the space for someone new to arrive. Sometimes, the greatest gift someone leaves you is the empty space they leave behind. It teaches you what you truly need and what you've always deserved. Real love isn't just a feeling, it's a choice, a daily choice to stay, to care, to see one another in our humanity, even when that part is still rough around the edges. And if someone chooses you in that way, please, don't doubt it, receive it. No need to rush, just be honest, because the moment you learn to love yourself fully, the world begins to reflect that love back to you, and in that same moment, the old secrets that once held power begin to lose their grip. Not all truths strike like thunder. Some arrive like the first rain of the season, gentle but deeply penetrating. It begins with the smallest of things. A strange feeling when entering a familiar room. An averted glance from someone who once looked you straight in the eye. A silence that feels unusually heavy in a conversation that used to flow easily. And then, in the midst of that subtle shift, your intuition begins to whisper, as if a wave is slowly rising behind you, not enough yet to crash, but enough to let you feel. The wind is changing direction. Truth never arrives alone. It brings with it a spiritual awakening. When the first signs appear, you may not have the words for them yet. You can feel it. You no longer see the world the same way. The picture that was once hidden starts revealing new shades. Stories once left unfinished resurface, and this time you listen differently, not to judge, not to defend, but to receive, because now you're no longer afraid. You've become strong enough to hear the whole truth without letting it shatter your trust in yourself. The first wave is feeling. The second wave is confession. It won't come from a stage. It will come on an ordinary evening, through a hesitant phone call, a message sent at midnight, a soft touch on the shoulder that says I'm sorry without knowing how to say it. And when the first words finally surface, even if broken, even if incomplete, you'll know this is sacred, not because they've changed, but because you have. You're ready to hear without needing to judge. That's the sign you've stepped into a higher realm of maturity. Maturity not born from wounds, but from healing them. From that point on, the missing pieces will start falling into place. You'll understand why delays happened, why people left without goodbye, why you felt misunderstood, watched, doubted, not because you were wrong, but because the truth was being hidden. And now it's all unraveling like a curtain blown open by the wind. Light is flooding the spaces that had remained dark for too long, and you, the one who once asked, "What did I do wrong?" will finally see. You did nothing wrong. You were simply the one carrying the truth into a world that wasn't ready to face it. Each truth that reveals itself now doesn't come to hurt you, it comes to free you. Each shift that occurs doesn't come to take something away, but to return your power to choose clearly, consciously, and fairly. And when you look back at everything that's happened, you'll realize there's been a higher order moving all along. Nothing was random, nothing was wasted. Every delay was divine protection. Every hidden truth was the universe whispering, "Not yet, you're still healing." But now, everything has changed, you're ready, and the universe knows it. The wave is rising, but you are no longer afraid of being swept away, because now you are the one who rides the wave. You didn't come here to run from the truth. You came to stand in it and rise from it. Your victory won't come from defeating anyone. It will come from not being controlled by anyone. Victory is when you see the whole picture and still choose compassion, when you face the truth and still keep your heart open. And in that moment, when all the truths have begun to surface, and you stand steady in your center, like a pillar of light amid the storm, a final sign begins to approach, not as a warning, but as confirmation.